If possible, use similar or same words on different social media platforms. I'll give you some ideas in a minute about what your bio should look like. So here's some examples of some that I've worked with over the last year or so, just to give you an idea of the kinds of things you can say. The first one is, I help entrepreneurs grow their online traffic from a trickle to a torrent. Another one is, I work with business owners looking for a marketing breakthrough, DIY and done for you online marketing. Another one is, I help entrepreneurs create a reliable and predictable flow of high quality visitors to their website so they can focus more of their time on the parts of their business they love and create more freedom to enjoy their life outside of business, knowing that their website is working for them 24/7. And the last example of the ones I've been using in the last while is, identify the most profitable online marketing opportunities for your business and implement a campaign yourself so that you start to receive more profitable website traffic in 72 days or less. In your social media bio, which you might want to use similar or same words on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you are, keep the same wording, close variation on all the platforms so your messaging is consistent. State how you help people, the solutions you provide, the problems you solve, or the benefits you confer. So remember, this is all about them, the WIFM thing, WIIFM. Keep them brief, 50 to 100 words. If you're drafting it up in Microsoft Word or something similar, which I would suggest you do for the spell check and the character count, you can also use the word count so you can see how long it is. Use credibility points where you can. So those are facts that you state about your successes, how many things you've sold, how long you've been doing it, awards you've won, and so on and so forth. And remember that people viewing your profile want to know what's in it for them. So to the extent that you're talking about your own achievements and your credibility points, they're provided so that people build some trust in you. They're not really to say how wonderful you are. Well, they are kind of, but they say how wonderful you are in the context of how you can help people and why they should trust you. So just having another look at the editing of the page info, which you can access from the three dots as shown in the slide, or access from the About tab. We'll have another look at some of those specific fields. So check what you've done so far, and if you can put in a link, then think about what page on your website you want to link to. It may be your home page at this stage, or if you've already got a landing page or a sales page, it may be that page. So we're going to talk a little bit more about landing pages and sales pages. And if you haven't got one of those, don't worry. They're a special page on your website that is designed for a campaign or to receive traffic from a source such as Facebook promoting a campaign or an offer. And they tend to have all of the information that somebody would need to make a decision or take an action. And they tend to have little or no navigation, so they tend to be stripped of menu items and links. So that's a landing page or a sales page, and you will learn some more about those soon. Once you've done that, click back to save everything, of course. Click back onto the settings tab at the top. So the settings tab, I'm sure you're familiar with it. That's got pretty much all the stuff you need that will appear on the next screen. Once you click on that settings tab, you'll see the screen opens up, and it's got a lot of settings on there, a lot of very useful stuff. We won't cover them all. A lot of them are very straightforward, but have a look at each tab and have a look what's in there and see if you're happy with the way it's set up. Page roles we'll get to, it's part of another lesson. Notifications, check out the notifications tab, and people and other pages, preferred page audience, you may well have set that already, make sure it's appropriate. So that is the settings tab. It's one of the most important tabs to be aware of. I think I've mentioned to you a few times already, stuff moves around on Facebook. They're constantly improving things. Most of the changes are improvements, but it can be quite annoying, especially if you're in the middle of an ad campaign and they change ads manager and stuff moves around, then you don't know where it is. Sometimes you'll find an ads manager, the whole thing goes to sleep and it doesn't work properly for a day or two, but it's the nature of the platform. It's an extraordinary platform. If you think about the technology behind it, it's an amazing thing. what they've achieved with it. But from your point of view, you will need to track stuff down sometimes using Facebook Help or Google Search. There are different fields available. There are 4 tabs: there's general, contact, location, and hours. We'll come to a bit more about that in a second. Just a tip on the way past: if you are using Gmail or a similar service for your business, it looks kind of unprofessional. So assuming you've got a website, then you'll have your own domain. So you're better off to have an email at the domain than one at Gmail or any of the other services. It looks far more professional if you have an email with your own domain in it. So here are those 4 tabs I mentioned: general, contact, location, and hours. It's all pretty straightforward what you need to do. The main point I want to make is check that you've got the information in there that you want to have. Some stuff you may not need, and make sure it's all up to date and accurate, and set yourself a diary note to check it again in 6 months' time. And remember those 2 really important useful tabs that I've shown you again here: the click see all information at the bottom to make all the fields appear, and the famous view pages visitor option, which is the 3 dots under the cover image, and you click the 3 dots and then view pages visitor will appear. They're a very useful thing to see, because when you're looking at it as an admin, you don't see the page as everyone else sees it. So that was a pretty short, simple module, but there is a point to all of this, in that the online world is cluttered and competitive, and we know that reach on Facebook pages has diminished and potentially headed to 0. So when you finally get someone to your Facebook page, or your website for that matter, you really want to make that count. You don't want people to come and then disappear. You want to start to involve them in your ecosystem. You want to start to enroll them in what you're doing. So if you think about the hierarchy of things they can do, I guess visiting your website or your Facebook page is the entry point. The next thing they might do is like a post, and then they might like your page. And then if they like what they see, they might decide from your Facebook page or from your website to give you their email address in exchange, for example, for a digital gift or something like that, an incentive. And once you've done that, then you can start emailing them content and ideas and interesting, cool stuff. And in time, you can ask them to buy. So what we're really trying to do with this whole Facebook page module is to set up your ecosystem so that anybody who visits who's potentially interested in what you offer, anybody who is a potential customer, your ideal customer, your avatar, is going to stick around, and eventually you're going to have a chance to sell to them. So that's the end of this module. A few more comments about what's coming up next, then we'll move on to the next module. So that's the end of this short, easy lesson. Some of them are going to be a lot harder than this, but I thought we'd better start with something easy where you can get some quick gains. With the next lesson that we're going to be looking at, we'll look at moderation, which involves profanity filters, and you can also block certain words that people might post. And we'll also look at how you can show your team members on your page. So the moderation thing is pretty important, and the profanity filter in particular. A few years ago, I was asked to go and do an assessment of social media for a national retail chain, and I had a look through their Facebook page, and nobody had set the profanity filters in place. And it was kind of shocking, really, sort of funny in a way as well, because there was some posts there with some people who started abusing each other and arguing and using the very, very worst kinds of words to describe each other. And they also were criticizing and abusing the product. So I immediately told them that, and obviously the moderation hadn't been very good either, hadn't been watching it. So there's 2 things they needed to do. The first one was to set the profanity filter, which we'll have a look at shortly. And the second thing is to hide the comments. So when somebody says something on your page that you don't want to be on your page, you don't really want to delete it, because that really annoys people. It's a red rag to a bull. And you know, the whole story about don't feed the trolls. So the best thing to do is to hide it, because then it is visible to them and their friends, and they're none the wiser that you've actually got rid of the comment, but nobody else can see it.